Divers now recovering the remains of 2 U.S. sailors from the U.S. Navy destroyer that collided with an oil tanker. They've been identified as 22-year-old Kenneth Aaron Smith of New Jersey and 26-year-old Dustin Lewis Doyen of Connecticut. 8 sailors remain missing at this hour, and there are growing questions over whether the Navy is facing a readiness crisis. Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger is pilot in the Air National Guard, serves on the House Foreign Relations Committee. Is there a question whether the Navy is facing a readiness crisis, or are they?
I think the military in general is. The Navy is. You know, the Army only has 2 battalions combat ready today. It's a big problem. Part of it is the spending. When we did sequester, we capped what we could spend. And every year we give a pay raise to the military, as we should. They deserve every penny and more. But what that does, it brings up the cost personnel and cuts out operations and maintenance, which is the part of the budget that you need to buy new aircraft, buy new ships, train people well. And
is this only a money issue?
No, I think it's something else too. And I can say this as a guy still in the military. The amount of what I call ancillary training that we put on, whether it's sailors, airmen in my case, when I go in to do reserve duty, usually once a quarter you have to sit down and just do a bunch of computer-based training that has nothing to do with your ability to do your job. So I think part of it's a cultural issue in the military.
Is this like political correctness run amok? You're doing sensitivity training and all this other nonsense?
Some of it is. Some of it's, you know, information awareness. And you have to go on to this basically computer site, and you have this list of 10 things you have to check out. And so you're flipping through a PowerPoint to get it done. Now, some of that is good, talking about how to prevent, hacking from your email system. But at the same time, a lot of it is either congressional leadership or military leadership covering themselves by saying, well, if there's a problem, at least I put a CBT, a computer-based training up. And it takes away from people, especially reservists, the ability to go and train with the limited time they have.
You think about 4 major issues on U.S. Navy ships around the world since January, 2 collisions, the McCain and the Fitzgerald. You think about the Marines stand down for all of their planes after their crashes, Army Black Hawk helicopter crash. If this was a commercial airline, or if this was a cruise ship company, the government would come in and shut them down for safety violations.
Yeah.
Is there a time that there has to be a wholesale change?
Well, I think a time for a change is now. I think there's a number of factors that go into this. As we find out what happened to the McCain, we'll know more. But, look, there's always been training accidents. Military is inherently dangerous, even in peacetime and even in peacetime operations. But to see 2 Navy ships collide, I mean, look, this is not...
Carnival Cruise has a better record than that.
Right, yeah. And it's not like, going down an interstate and getting into a car wreck. This takes a lot of time to see these collisions coming. We have the best military and bar none the best people in the military, but there is something that's missing, and we got to figure out what that is. It's not just as terrible as it is the loss of life, it's the loss of equipment, the money spent to repair, and frankly what it does to our reputation as a country.
Specifically to the McCain and Fitzgerald, and some of our Pentagon folks, Lucas Tomlinson, pointing this very important point out. Those both are Aegis-class destroyers that could be used to shoot down North Korean missiles. They're both based in the Pacific. Do you worry about sort of what message this sends to our enemies in terms of how ready we are, number one, but 2, that suddenly U.S. military capabilities in the Pacific are significantly curtailed because of these accidents and these ships now out of service?
Yeah, I think nobody should have any doubt that our Navy is unmatched, and even with these unfortunate incidents, it's still unmatched. But yes, I think it does a damage to our reputation. But most importantly, too, it's tragic what it can do to the sailors. These 10 sailors on the McCain had no idea that anything like this was going to happen. And so, yeah, it's extremely essential that we figure out what's going on, whether it's a cultural issue in the military, whether it's a leadership issue, or whether it's spending. It's probably all of the above. We got to get this taken care of.
Well, I know you guys are having hearings about it come the fall. We'll look forward to seeing what comes out of them.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks, Congressman. Appreciate it.